All right, guys. Hi, my name is Dr. Sharnael Wolverton Sehan. I'm with Switfire True TV, which is like about the truth because we love the truth. And super excited today because I have a new guest, a dear friend of mine, Megan Rose, and it's her first time being on the show. And we were going to have her back a while back, and things just have been crazy. And at this time, we're like, all right, this is a good topic for right now. It's a great time for all of us to remember our intuition. That's what we're going to talk about today, is just ways that you and I, that all of us, everyone watching, can remember how to hear, like, what is the guidance for us in this day and age, and yours may be completely different than ours, because hopefully we're all doing something very different, and that we're all, here with different pieces of the puzzle to bring a complete package collection. But as we do our due diligence and work on ourselves and really tune in and do all the things physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, then hopefully we'll be a sharper tool for who we can possibly be, and also bring that to the world and even beyond the world. And so without further ado, well, first of all, I'm going to ask everybody, please share and get this out. Definitely let people know, we'll be talking here, probably chatting probably in the next 40 minutes ish. So there's lots of time to get people on still. And if you have any questions too, definitely send your questions here, because if we have time, we might do some Q&A. But definitely want to just introduce Megan. Megan Rose, her middle name is Rose. My first name is Rose of God. So we have that in a little bit of a thing we just talked about yesterday. I was like, wait a minute, I didn't know that was your real name, but it really is. So tell us a little bit about yourself. I know your medical background, but you are also very prophetic, very intuitive. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, yeah, Rose is my great grandmother's name. So, so yeah, it's my real name. But yeah, well, I went to school for nursing and I was a critical care nurse. Actually, for a little bit during the pandemic when it first started in 2020. And then I left, I built up my psychic mediumship business and started doing readings and healings for people. And then I wrote a book, Welcome to the Future.
Yay.
And it's about my ET contacts and my abductions. And so yeah, a little bit about me, but a lot of my life listening to my intuition, not necessarily listening to other people or external sources, but listening to my own voice. And that actually came like when I was a nurse, I really started to develop my intuition. And I really started when I was working with really sick patients. It really, really helped me to kind of feel out what their issues were, like what their problems were, and fix it as best I could. But that's when really like my intuition started to blossom, is maybe in the past like 3-4 years.
So do you think that crisis in general, like the pressure, how you think of like diamonds
Yeah.
and like the pressure, you think that had anything to do with it? Or do you think it's like a timeline thing, or what, or a combination of things?
I think one, like I was attracted to critical care nursing because it's like it is like it's super intense, like life or death. But that's because I had PTSD from my abductions and stuff. So I was very like detail oriented, like in an OCD kind of trauma way, if that makes sense. Like it was my way of coping, like predicting disasters. um but yeah, I would say so, because like when push comes to shove, like you're dealing with life or death. So it's like it was hard. Yeah, I would say I would agree with that.
It seems to me, just talking to other people too, during this like wake up, whatever you want to call it, that there are a lot of people who are able to see things differently from a different perspective all of a sudden. And it's like, wow, and some of it, as you know, when different things, when the truth comes out, when different truths come out, there is sometimes a little bit of like of a grieving period too, of just being like, what? And you kind of feel duped or feel like, wait, what else isn't true? You know what I mean? And you kind of like go through everything in your life and figure out, oh my God, what do I believe? Where did that come from? Why do I believe that? Is that even true? Is this even true? You know, like, you know what I mean? Did you go through that too?
Yeah, I definitely did. When I started like learning about how deep I mean, we're on YouTube, we're censored, but how deep the little people, the issues with the little people on the planet were, like that was definitely like an aha moment. And I think too, like sometimes like we're taught too on this plane, like that our sense of self, we identify with belief systems. So when like you feel like you lose a piece of who you are when the belief system is challenged as part of the ego. So so yeah, I think a lot of people like, and there's a lot of people who aren't into like the truther movement who will go through that process too, and it's actually probably most of the world will have like a new sense of when the truth, you know, the truth comes out, we'll have a new sense of like maybe like an ego crisis or like a, you know, midlife crisis type thing where they are trying to figure out who they really are. And the truth is the that definition comes from only you. It doesn't come from the external world, you know?
Yeah, I think this is a great opportunity. And what I'm seeing a lot, especially for myself and really others, is with so much misinformation, disinformation, straight up like crazy town with whatever mainstream news, whatever is going on, 5G, whatever, that people are mistrusting so much that they're just like, okay, you know what? I'm going to just like say bye to all that and I'm going to go inside because God is true, creator is true, source is true. And, you know, the heart knows. We ultimately, we all have the DNA of the creator, of source. We have source code. And if we can just remember that, and that's why I titled this Remembering Intuition, because the word remember to me means to get back into alignment, to remember, as in be a member, like your whole body, and not just this body, but the collective. As we remember our own DNA technology, which, you know, every single person on the planet has the technology to be intuitive and to follow that GPS, that God positioning system within us. And what would you say are some things that would keep you from intuition? Let's talk about that. Like, I have a few in mind, but does anything come to mind?
I would say like a lot of times people want like other people to validate them. I would say like external validation
Like
or
independence?
codependence. There's a lot of like you said, with so much misinformation, disinformation, information, it can get to a point where it's kind of telling you what you think is true, if that makes sense. And so actually, like when I first started to wake up, I deleted all of my social medias. And I still do that sometimes. I completely disconnect from social medias. Um, and I just meditated like maybe 2 or 3 times a day and really strengthened my own intuition so that I could see clearly. And once you like, first of all, we weren't taught like what our own energy feels like or to sit in our own energy, if that makes sense. We were all like trained through TV, music to create like that the world is externally projected at us instead of us projecting out into the world, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So really, once you get a feel for your own source code, like your own DNA, your own frequency, it's easier to feel what resonates with you. If that, you see what I'm saying? That's how I feel.
Yeah. So I've never told you this, but when my wake up really, really started in 1999, and I was a part of a lot of like religious situations, and I was in full-time ministry and all of that. And I really felt in my heart to pull out. We didn't have social media stuff, right? It wasn't like that wasn't the distraction. But I was literally in seminary, in a Baptist seminary, getting my doctorate, I was in like all this leadership stuff within a church, which, I'm not anti-church, I'm just pro-God. And so I think that religion can cause a lot of division, right? So, but I really felt like to pull out of all of that, and it was kind of painful to 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 leave friends and like, just the social aspects of all of that. But I pulled out and basically was going to give myself 6 months to just meditate and see what would happen. I really felt strongly that it needed to be like a 6 month thing. And then I had this great idea. Oh, well, now I'm going to catch up on all of these books and CDs and whatever that had accumulated that I hadn't made time to watch and listen. And then every time I went to go even do that, I felt like, nope, nope. And I realized zero voices outside. It could be like not what this person is saying to do in this situation or that situation, where there's a prophetic person or a advice person or whatever book for self-development. It was like strictly this, and I actually heard, be still and know that I'm God. And then I heard, be still. And then I heard be. And I was like, and it wasn't like all in at one day that happened. I mean, I started my meditation thing and I would be like, are you kidding me? It's been like 3 minutes. Wow. It felt like a zillion years had gone by. I'm like, oh, I got to do this like 10 more hours. What? But then you get into this like, okay. And you kind of, you catch, I would catch myself like making grocery lists or things I got to do tomorrow or whatever. And I'll be like, oh, no, back, come back, and then, but then I just heard be. And coming from a performance like program where, especially in the churches or different, even growing up, like just parents don't mean to, but there's like very much school education, everything is like performance based. It's like you do this, you get a good grade. You do this, you're going to make cheerleader. You do this, you can get on the sports team, like whatever the thing is. There's like this performance thing where you think, if I do these things, I'm going to be more loved, right?
Yeah.
But when I got the B message, I was like, how do you do that? Like, just sit here? Like, come on, really? Like, B? What is that? But we are human beings, not human doings, right? And it took a little time to ease into the being part, but that's when I really got in my groove and could really hear and was like connected and I felt aligned. And yeah, but you're right. Codependence is a big deal. Anything external, it can bring a lot of confusion. I think through like foods and like junk food and, just being real, like, right? Like, I think you can get like, I felt like when I cleaned up my diet and really started using like high vibe foods and like, you'll see me almost I drink 3 or 4 of these a day. So I almost spilled it. I didn't know it was open. But
do that.
About that as far as like exercise, fresh air, nature, what do you think about that?
Well, I had an idea, like, as you were talking about religion, because I went to Catholic school, like my whole life, except for the last 2 years, I went to public school. So we went to church once during school every Sunday. And it's very much like that program of if you do X, Y, or Z, you're going to be good, right? Or you get a good grade. And so I was kind of taught that, like, if you go to church every Sunday, like, you get brownie points with God, blah, blah, blah. And I think it sometimes develops this like lack of accountability too, because sometimes people feel like if I do everything I'm told, then, I will reap the rewards. And that's not actually, you have to create from within, if that makes sense. So it's even like, there's a lot of good things about, church, or I'm not saying all preachers are bad or anything like that, but there's a lot of good things about developing your own intuition, because the whole perspective of spiritually, like what is right and wrong, is sort of a, how do I describe it? Maybe a lower perspective sometimes, where the intuition and who you are is kind of, it's much bigger than that, right? It's like a frequency of what resonates, what feels good. And that's how you create things. Diet, you will not be impressed with me. I admit I don't have the best diet, but you did do a bio scan for me and gave me a consult that was great. So I have been making some changes, but I have a super fast metabolism, so I constantly eat, and it tends to not always be. My favorite thing is chicken fingers and French fries. Just full disclosure.
Oh my God. Oh my God. I am coming over to your house. Yes. So, okay, well, since you mentioned the bioscan, so basically a bioscan, I basically can read your biofield and I'll look at organs, EEGs, EKGs, hormones, chakra systems, your spiritual, like biofield, your emotions. And what I do is I take everything, I put it in a tray, and that I can actually zap you long distance and send you those energies that counter what may be out of balance so you can come back into balance. And I've worked with a ton of people that it really sharpens intuition, because again, that alignment, when you are in alignment and you feel good, if you're not like sick and thinking about pain and having inflammation and stuff, then you're more clear. But yeah, tell me about your response. You said that you had energy and whatever. Everybody's different, but did you feel like a spike of intuition or anything? Or
I definitely felt okay, I would be curious to see if I actually made changes to my diet, how much more intuitive I could be. Because I'm remembering like my nursing experience, like I was very intuitive, like I would see spirits like after the people passed away and that kind of stuff.
ah,
But I was eating like the sugar, the donuts, the pizza that people brought in, like not taking lunch breaks. I would drink coffee and energy drinks all day long.
yeah.
Horrible diet, little protein, carbs. So I'm curious, maybe like if I actually made, I don't eat that bad now, but if I actually made changes. But after the bioscan, I cried. But
Wow,
that's part of like shifting the emotions, right? So I did like have a couple cries, which is abnormal for me because I'm not a huge crier. But I did feel like I had more energy, like a lot more energy, and I felt really good. I did start to feel really good after it. And you do this, like I had to send you like a mantra that you scan in. Is that right?
Yep.
So I said mine was I am peace, and I did start to like feel more peaceful, or like that manifested for me too. So yeah, I'm excited, for my next one.
Yeah, I actually, so I started out doing the biofield scans because I was trying to figure out a way to help people long distance. And of course, there's like Reiki long distance too, but this is like, it was done on me the first time, and I literally knocked out. And I don't ever sleep during the day. And I slept like 4 hours in the middle of the day sitting up on my couch in my living room, which again, I don't sleep in my living room. I don't sleep during the day. I don't sleep sitting up. So, but anyway, I've added on to it now where I'm taking like the map of consciousness that is through Dr. Hawkins, David Hawkins. And I've been looking and being able to test like where people are on the scale of consciousness, which could be like apathy or anger or bitter or fear or courage, all the way up to complete like total illumination, enlightenment, or what have you. But what I'm seeing is there's a lot of people in that fear, like a lot of people that I scan are in that fear thing. And I think that fear itself brings confusion, which if you're confused and in fear, it's an easy way to be manipulated by all the external things because you're easily programmed. And so I think that's one deterrent as well, is just like, living in fear. And how can we get away from that? I think like what you said is turning off some of the social media stuff, or having like timeouts at least. I just found out like 2 days ago that you can have like an app that will block certain time periods for different apps. And I'm like, oh my God, I got to do this because, if I grab my phone and I want to call someone, I don't, probably everybody does this, but it's like, I want to check my text or whatever. You see the notifications, and then next thing you know, it's an hour later, and you're like, oh my God, what was I doing again? I was looking up whatever, or texting someone back, or I forgot I was going to call this girl. But
they study these things, and they study the brain, like how our brain responds to the technology, and actually scrolling releases a chemical in our brain for instant gratification.
yeah.
So it is addictive.
Like casino. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And the mainstream news, actually, the frequency of it is mind control technologies. So it's of a much lower frequency. And so people get addicted to that too. And what it does is the frequency of it doesn't allow your mind or your intuition or your brain to think of things as a whole picture. Because a lot of stuff sometimes doesn't even make logical sense. And it's fear-based. And even the people on the news, they're taught neuro-linguistic programming.
Yep.
They're actually,
that's good.
It's a whole mind control operation, actually. So, you know,
I mean, it's not good. It's good that you're bringing this up. Thank you.
Yeah. So, I mean, I just completely 86 the mainstream news, because it's not good for your brain. But how can you combat stuff like that is through meditation and raising your own frequency, your own vibe. And then when you come in contact with a lower frequency or something that's low vibe, you're like, hey, no, I'm up here, right?
That. You recognize it, right? Yeah. And I'll give you an example too, because so we've been testing a lot of different people, celebrities, living people, dead people. And I can test their radius for their biofield, and then the map of consciousness, if their chakras are out, whatever. And when you are in fear, your biofield is this big, instead of 15 feet or 5 feet or 4 feet or 3 feet, it's this big, because and sometimes I've actually seen it where it's inverted, like a foot in, meaning those people are in so much fear that they're literally in survival mode. And they need drama or other people or other things to actually survive, because they cannot generate their own love frequency. They're so in fear that they have to take from something else or some situation, or they thrive on drama basically, and create it because it so feels normal to them. And they that's how they feed. And we know that the people, they feed off of our energy too, loosh, they call it. And so, of course, they could send that out in the television for us. It's the beta wave. It's beta waves. You mentioned the waves that they send out. It's beta waves, which is fight or flight. So it's already tuned in to beta. And so imagine people going to sleep with the TV on all night.
Yes.
And they're completely, because I know a lot of people, including myself, I'll put on the TV and I'll just accidentally fall asleep. And then you wake up in the middle of the night and go, oh crap. But the commercials with all the pharmakia, saying that you have stuff again, it's oh, you have blah, blah, blah. You should get blah, blah, blah. Right. And next thing you know, you could be like, I think I might have this or blah, blah, blah. And I mean, cancel clear all of that, but it's all this seducing frequencies that really can catch you,
And what it does, so like you mentioned, the biofield, and people become hungry for energy, it's because it's cut off your intuition. It's cut off the connection between you and your crown chakra. So, and the intuition comes from above, from the higher plane, and you anchor it down into you. So that's why, a lot of my life, I've never listened to other people. But, I used to get reprimanded for that when I was little, but it's actually a safety a built-in spiritual safety mechanism of only listening to yourself or your higher self, right? So anything that tries to come into my field or into my space externally, telling me who I am or what I am, it's a big no for me. I'll never listen. And you gave me advice once. You told me this. It was I might not word it correctly, but you said you'll never get information that you don't already know. You'll get confirmation of what you do know. Did I say that right?
Well, I didn't. It's not my
Oh,
thing, but I just told you what my mentor Bob Jones. Actually, it was during the time of Bob Jones, but when I was in that meditation period and I
mhm.
was really seeking, it ended up being a year. After 6 months, I did a whole other 6 months, and of course, I went through so much ego stuff because it was like the first 6 months of kind of dropping out, people were like calling me all the time going, hey, let's go do this, let's, whatever, let's go do this thing. And I would be like, you guys, I told you I can't do this. Like, I'm just taking a sabbatical. And then they stopped calling. And then I was annoyed and like rejected and feeling like, oh my God, no one ever asked me to do anything anymore. So it was a lot of that stuff too. But in that time of being is when I heard, you I want you to know that you are loved just as much sitting here doing absolutely nothing as if in any comparison to doing anything out there all like 24 hours a day working busy.
Yeah.
And like to understand unconditional love, like you could do nothing and I still love you. Like this source in me was like, I love you just as much, and I want you to really get this in. And then the other thing that I heard was, you'll never hear another word that comes to you unless it's a confirmation of what I already told you, meaning me, my God self would know. And then I would hear it. It was confirmation. If I heard something that was told to me outside of what I didn't know, then that means it was not God. It was not creator. It was not source, because I would know first, because
Right.
I had tapped into that. It took me 6 months to a year. And I really believe that I already had it when I was doing, because I was in the Montauk Project, and I think that they picked me on purpose because
Right.
of some of that. But I just think that something happened in that it was some trauma things that happened in the 90s that I was just like, there's got to be more. There's got to be more than this, and I think that's where a lot of people are in the last 2 years, that they're just like, they're having their own personal version with all these external things going on, and they're looking and going, there's got to be more than this. But
I
yeah,
agree.
listening to other people, unless it's like someone who absolutely adores you and you can feel their love,
Yeah.
and then it's still a confirmation. But I've had people who can say something really mean, and they mean it mean. And I've had people say something really hard to hear, but it was in so much love
Yeah.
that, and it resonated with what I already knew. And so it was kind of like, wow, okay, yeah. And you can receive it because A, you heard it already from yourself, and B, it was wrapped in love, and it came from someone who cared about you, not someone who's just like a troll,
Yeah.
whatever, comments or whatever.
That
Talk.
brings, that
Yeah.
like brings up like self-awareness though. Like what's your ego and like what's your higher self? Because there's a lot of things that like that's where like you have to be careful, or like being self-aware and meditating will help you, because sometimes people confuse intuition with their triggers. So something will them, they'll be like, yeah, I resonate with that person because I hate this person, blah blah blah, or like that person triggers me, right?
I think it
Or
was Tyler that said that. Was
yeah,
or did you tell? I don't know. I heard that from Tyler somewhere before. Where it say it again? Your triggers are.
like there's a difference between what you resonate with like intuitively and resonate, or someone triggers you and you're saying, yeah, that resonates with me. Do you know what I mean? It might resonate with your ego because your ego wants to believe that. Do you know what I mean? But is it your higher self talking? So there's a lot of like, there might be a lack of self-awareness in what your ego needs, or you have ego needs, and what's true for your intuition and what's vibrating at the true frequency of your soul. Because most of us, like if you were born here, have trauma from living here. I made a YouTube video and I was joking. I was like, we're in hell. Just kidding, kind of. But
Kind of.
we all were subjected to like programs and programmed out of listening to our higher self, right? And listening to the inside. So you have to undo that programming and figure out who you are before you become clearer and clearer in your knowing, you know?
Yeah, and another thing too, when I was testing all these people with the map of consciousness, what's really clear, you were talking about the baseline of like, okay, now I know the difference between, what's real and what isn't. Number one, is it a confirmation? But also, I had this thing that happened this year where a really good friend of mine, two really good friends of mine, they kept sending me these links to a lady on YouTube, two different ladies, and they were like, oh, listen to them, listen to them. And I would put it on and I'd be like, oh, I don't know what it is, but I just, she's probably really nice, but I can't get into it. It doesn't, whatever. And they kept on and on. Oh, wait till you get to minute 18 and blah, blah, blah. I was like, so I would try again and it would just go through whatever. And I had forgotten that we had compiled like a list, a library of all these people that were tested. And I woke up one morning because I literally was talking in my sleep and I heard myself telling that lady, look, I just don't vibe with her. That's what I said. And I woke myself up and I sat up in the bed. I was like, what was that? And in the dream, I was literally telling the lady, stop sending me this stuff with these two people, right? So
Yeah.
I thought, it occurred to me, I'm like, oh my gosh, I wonder if these people had tested either of these two ladies. So I got up and I went and looked in the library. My iPad was on there. It's like 4 a.m, Megan. I'm like crazy, but I'm like, okay. So I grabbed my iPad. I look, sure enough. And this person is like a big deal kind of celebrity, intuitive person out there. And a lot of people like her and she's probably really, really nice. And she scored like a 50, which is 50 club is like not a club you want to be in because it's like Hitler, Bill Gates, the Clintons, some other people. And I'm like, oh my God, because I know what my score is. And I was like, I literally do not vibe with this person, like on a literal like measurement scale. So it wasn't like I'm mad at you or I'm mad at this person or I love everyone the same, but I'm not going to feed myself with information that's out of 50 when God is at 5, God's at 1,000, source is at 1,000, but love is at 500. And so, there's only two people that I've ever found out of 500, and that is Eckhart Tolle and the dude who wrote 4 Agreements. I don't know if you ever read that book, but there's not a lot of people at the 500 mark, but their biofield is 20 feet. 20 feet, meaning their love just radiates out and they probably just walk around and like people bump into their, shadow and literally probably feel loved just by like being anywhere within 20 feet radius. So, I mean, is that insane?
The people with the lower one, like the 50 one you said, they probably, because you said, you've scanned their biofield too and it's smaller and they start to siphon energy from people.
It's inverted.
They probably have entity attachments too. And sometimes when people talk, like you can hear the voice of another entity, like I can hear it of another entity in the voice as well. So it's a weird noise. I've literally had people leave me voicemails and I can hear like, it might take a left turn, but like possession, and I can hear an entity speaking and I'll just delete it right away. It's kind of weird, but because there might be something that's siphoning the energy through them too as well. But that's cool. I want to be in the 500 club.
Yes, I want to be in the 1,000 club. The only two I ever scored 1,000 is Jesus and Mary Magdalene.
Wow.
As far as on this planet so far that I've tested is those two people. And and which went against all my religious boxes at the time because I'm like, wait, Mary Magdalene, because in the Bible she's like trash, right? But
in the Bible.
which is why I'm like, anyway. So, but Mary is like amazing. There were twin flames. She's like amazing. I mean, I've studied tons on her now, and I'm just like, oh my God, I can't believe I was in that program. And it's probably where a lot of the Catholics get like, like looking up to her so much and stuff, because not just as the mother of Jesus. I mean, I'm sorry, not Mother Mary, Jesus, but I'm talking about Mary Magdalene. Let's be clear. Oh yeah, yeah. So the Catholics don't do Mary Magdalene though. It's Mary, Mother of Jesus, right?
Yeah, the Catholics believe basically that Mary Magdalene was a prostitute that was Jesus's friend, and then, but they like, I don't know if I would use the word worship, but kind of idolize Mother Mary. She's like big in the, you know, the Immaculate Conception, and then you have all of the different versions of Mary from different cultures. Yeah, they're big into Mother Mary.
Yeah, well, I've been to like one Catholic wedding. I've not been to a Catholic anything, but I do remember statues, a lot of Mary statues.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
but yeah, so I think that when you say entities and you brought up entities, one thing I'll say too on the scan is if this on the spiritual report, there's one that's a spiritual report. If it shows up entities, I can always pretty much guarantee that they do some sort of drugs or pharmaceuticals or drink alcohol.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All of that scores like 25 or less.
Yeah.
And so if we're, you know, supposed to be high, but then we're engaging with something that's low, then basically entities can attach because they're low, entities are low, and it gives them rights basically to come into our field. And it's an invitation. So
it creates, like, when I've looked at people psychically who use drugs or drink alcohol, it creates holes in your auric field because it weakens your biofield or your auric field, and then they can come in that way too. And there's always, like, when people do that kind of stuff, it's usually to hide from their own trauma and their own wounds, and then the entity actually like hooks onto that as well, and then it's, you know, it's hard to get rid of them. But yeah.
you can scan them out, and I mean, there's ways to get them out, but if that's a practice of yours to continually
Right.
do it, it's kind of like, why, you know, why? And I mean, everything in moderation, you know, it's just, that's another part of just being. But yes, when you mentioned the thing about if people are lower, like in the 50s, that they have a smaller field, but they also have that inversion too, which I'm not going to name celebrities or whatever. I don't want to like out people because why, but
We
but
know what.
yeah. But it's definitely, it's crazy that it's measurable. Like it's literally measurable. And what I have seen too is if the masculine and feminine are balanced, and then the chakras are balanced, the field gets bigger, and the radius is bigger, which means you have more opportunity to not only come up on the scale of consciousness, but to affect more people in a positive way.
Yeah.
Because you're bigger and you're literally expanding your field.
Yeah.
So
Well, when you're connected to the divine or your divine self, then you can share more with other people because you're bringing that. It's like this endless flow of love where it doesn't really burn out because you're tapped into source. So then you can just share it with other people. The force of source.
So talk about grounding and the importance of grounding, because I know you're a big animal person and nature.
Yeah.
Like how important is that in this whole situation with intuition?
That's like number one, because first of all, like we talked about the frequencies of technology, that will just pull you right out of yourself, your groundedness, right? And the thing about intuition is you can have like an open crown chakra, an open third eye, but if you can't ground it into this plane, then it will be like very flighty, or it will feel more like anxiety and you won't be able to discern very well. But I'm like a huge animal person, like horses. I have 2 cats, 2 dogs. Uh, and I would have more, like if I had a bigger house, like I would just adopt more, like sure, why not? Um, but their energy is very pure and they're very balanced because they haven't been programmed, right? So they naturally go in the flow in alignment with nature. So I like to hang out with them so that I can resonate with them and mesh with their energy. And so That's like my favorite, like my happy place is just being on the farm with horses, with animals, hanging out. Like you don't have any interference. And that's like a good place to connect back to yourself and connect back to like that childhood feeling of, I don't know, just being yourself, being happy.
It's true. Well, and nature actually has code.
Yeah.
And animals, I've studied, and I actually work at a shelter. I work at a couple different animal shelters. I have I have fostered 95 kittens in the last 3 years.
Wow.
But
That's
there,
great.
when they purr, it is 157 megahertz.
Yeah.
We're 68 megahertz on a healthy adult day.
Yeah.
Um, and part of their job as an animal is to basically take away the chaos of our field and to like take it on, unfortunately. And when I worked with animals, people will bring me their animal and go, "Hey, can you help me with this?" And they will be a mirror to their human.
Yeah.
And my dog actually took on some stuff for me and passed, which I didn't know that that was going on at the time. But working in the shelter, a lot of the animals will come in, or people will come in and say, "Hey, can you help me with my dog or my cat?" And I'm like, "Okay, well, let's talk about you, because let's
Yeah.
treat the whole situation here and like support everybody. Otherwise, this dog is going to keep working for you, or this cat." But dolphins have an unmeasurable biofield. They're the highest frequency animal.
Yeah.
And horses their biofield is 350. I mean, you work with horses, you see them, they're majestic. I mean, they are like fire on a resonance scale, and they're so intuitive, right?
They are, yeah. Dolphins have always been like my favorite animal too. When I was little, and I didn't really know like SeaWorld was corrupt, but I was like, yeah, I'm gonna work at SeaWorld and like be a dolphin trainer.
Right. They're actually doing like tests now. Well, they've been doing it for about 5 years, where they actually like put people into like a area with a bunch of dolphins
Hmm.
over time, and they will get completely healed of cancer. Like,
Wow.
I don't know if
Yeah.
I could say that, but I mean literally, because the vibration just goes out into the field and to the water, which is also vibration. Water is a good way to like clear. But yeah, nature. If I go to the beach right now, which I'm headed tomorrow, I can't wait. I have a retreat all week in Destin, Florida. I'm teaching and I'm hosting. But just being by the water, not even being in the water, but just being by the water in 30 minutes will balance out your frequencies. If you go inside the water where the waves are, it takes 30 seconds, and your hormones, all your chemical, left and right hemisphere, like everything just balances. Or
Yeah.
sit on the beach or whatever. But grounding is a big deal. I think if you can't rest and anchor, I like how you said that, like anchor it in. It's like bringing up and then
Bring it
anchoring.
from above and then down into this plane. And
Yes.
I used to live, well, yeah, so I moved from Florida, I moved back up north,
You
but
were
where
in
I lived,
Florida?
uh-huh.
I did not know that.
I lived in a vacation hotspot, super nice area. But where I lived, there was lots of manatees. It was actually Manatee County. But so when you would go in the ocean, there would a lot of times there would be, if it was they were in season, would be manatees, and they're like cows of the sea. But
Really?
they're very large, but like gentle. They'll swim right up to you. Yeah. So I wonder what their biofield is, if it's
I have
similar.
never seen one, I don't think. Is that the thing that's like a square? I don't know what the shape, the floppy thing? I'm not thinking about manatee. What is a
They have
manatee?
like, well, it's kind of like a bigger seal, sort of, but they don't have like flippers that they stand up on, but they're very large. I'll
Gotcha.
send you a picture when we get off. But
I'm
yeah,
gonna Google that. Yeah. I don't think I obviously haven't seen one. But yes, definitely. Well, lots of people are giving you shout outs here, and lots of good, I mean, people are literally here from all over the world. We had Israel, Texas, Canada, Norway, go Norway. Who else is here? Yes, definitely definitely hit the like button, share, tons of people. I'm curious if anyone has any questions while we're here. We just have like maybe 15, 20 minutes left, but someone is saying, I don't feel life would be worth living without animals. I 100
No,
billion
I feel the
percent.
same.
Yeah. And
I feel
you know that there were actual unicorns on the planet at one time. I mean, we share the unicorn thing,
yes.
but there really were unicorns back in the day, and
Wow.
yeah.
I didn't know that. I mean, that like I feel like they come from somewhere, but I'm obsessed with unicorns. I have like a little girl room. I have unicorns in my room.
And you bought me the cutest picture, like painting. I was so shocked that I cried. I was like, I didn't expect it at all. And I
Yeah.
got it and I was like, oh, what? But yeah, I have unicorns all over my house too. And definitely I could be accused of having a little girl room.
Yeah.
It's between unicorns and superheroes. I have lots of Wonder Woman, lots of Superman. I
Yeah.
have Ray from Star Wars. She's everywhere too because she's a creator, a manifester. So, but yeah, our life.
Yeah.
These little anchors that help me keep sane.
That was from my favorite fantasy artist. His name's Steve A. Roberts. So he does like a lot of you can find him on fineartamerica.com. He does a lot of like angels, and I actually have a picture. He did angels and whales in the ocean, like really pretty fantasy stuff. So I love him. But yeah, and sometimes in meditation too, I'll see a unicorn and like the unicorn will start crying and I'll absorb the unicorn tears, and it's like a form of like healing that my guides will do with me. It's kind of fun.
Oh, wow.
Because they're supposed to be like in like mythology, unicorn tears are supposed to be like the most healing thing, which would make sense because they're probably of such a high vibration, you know.
I bet. You know what? I'm going to test unicorns when we get off of here. That is on my list. What is their radius?
Yeah, I want to know too.
Where are they on the map of consciousness? Let's find out what their biofield is. But yeah, I'm serious. Well, it's in the Bible. They're in the Bible. Well, not like not everything in the Bible is true. But I mean, I think that there's parts that have been taken out that change the connotation, and it's mistranslated. There's a lot of really good stuff in the Bible for sure, and I look at it like quantum physics, but definitely yeah. Oh, someone's asking, for the first time I ever saw Megan was in a video she did on who is Jesus. It was incredible. When I went back, I couldn't find it. It's gone. Hey Carly, what's up? We will find that. I'll find it for you, Carly.
So I took that video down, and I'll tell you the reason why. Because I really want people to find out like who he is for themselves. I don't want to tell people like who he is. Do you see what I'm saying? So I took those there's 2 videos I took down because I wanted people to find that within themselves. So but yeah, I mean, I definitely like resonate with a lot of the Jesus teachings. I think that his like a lot of the messages have been distorted, you know? But if I wrote the Bible, I definitely put unicorns in there.
I'll show you. There's like 2 scriptures that talk about unicorns. It talks about a horse-looking thing with a horn, but they changed it to a rhinoceros, like in the translation. But the original text is a horse figure with a horn, and I'm like, what they made up a new word. They made it a rhinoceros instead. But yeah, interesting. Okay, someone is asking, is there a video to watch and to teach more on biofield scanning? On my YouTube, yes, I have that. You can check that. Oh, someone's saying caught you live. Recently read your book. Very informative. Shared it to many. Yay. Greetings from Germany. I used to live in Germany. I was in Bremerhaven 4 years. I wonder where you're at. So yeah, any other questions? Let's see. Someone's asking about who's the next president. Well, who's the current president, really? I mean, let's not. It's like, really? Yeah,
That's fun.
I don't know. Should we even go there and touch that?
I probably wouldn't. I probably can't say much. I mean, obviously, I have my own opinions. You know, I went to the gas station today, and it cost me like $80 to fill up. And I was watching on TikTok. It was this farming thing. The farmers, it cost them like they said in 2020 it cost them like 275 a day to fill up a tractor. Now it's costing them like 750. So if it affects
275 a gallon, right?
no, like $275 a day to fill up a tractor.
Oh, wow.
I
Okay.
remember correctly, but they were showing different types of farming equipment. So it really affects, like, when you think about it, like how our food is made, people's businesses. I'm like, wow.
Yeah,
But
well, this is going to change. It's definitely going to change grocery prices, everything that is traveled on a truck, basically, unless you grow your own food and do your own thing. Anything that's going to have to be transported by a truck is going to go skyrocket because of you know who and blah. I don't want to go, but yeah, someone's asking about wine in moderation. Yes, everything in moderation. I'm not going to ever tell you that you shouldn't drink or you shouldn't do whatever. Like, that's all up to you and your choices. I'm not a heavy drinker. I'll have a glass of wine every now and then or whatever. But when you do too much, that's whenever it can lower you. I
yeah,
will say that red wine scored a little better than white wine, maybe because of the heart aspects of it helping with that. Let's see.
yeah,
Someone's
I really don't. I never drink. Like, I can't remember the last time I had a drink.
someone is asking about the biofield of different ETs. There's a whole video on that. We
Oh, wow.
scanned a lot of different off-planet Pleiadians and Octurians, and I mean they're like they're high up there on that versus grays that were pretty low. But yeah, let's see. Any more questions, guys? Um, what are some ways that you ground besides animals and nature? Is there anything else that it comes to mind?
Exercising helps. I exercise every day, so I actually like to lift weights because I find that to be grounding. So yeah, so I lift weights. Sometimes I'll run, doing yoga, but mostly I'm really a big weight person. And then I also have a grounding mat too that I'll meditate on. So I have like one of those kind of like fancier ones that's made out of amethyst and it heats up and stuff.
Biofeedback. I mean,
Yes.
a biomat.
Yeah, biomat. Yeah,
I
I
have
have one.
a biomat.
Yeah.
Do you sleep on
Yeah.
it like every night?
Usually at least once a day.
I
Yeah.
love my biomat. I have one too.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
like it too. It's nice in the cold weather too because it heats up, so it's just like feels warm.
It's a little bit rough though. I had to put like something on top of it so I'm not sleeping on rocks because literally
Yeah,
you are sleeping on rocks. But
rock.
it was a big part of my, like when I went through my healing crisis, which is kind of an oxymoron word situation. But when I went into my healing opportunity, I'll say that better. That's better. But that was a big part of my help and support. But yeah, oh, someone else has a biomat too. Someone else says I want one. But
Yeah,
someone's mentioning breath work. Do you do breath work?
not really. No. But when I get into a deep meditation, like when I get my mind into that place, my breathing changes, but I don't do it on purpose, like consciously. That
Yes.
makes sense.
Yes. I just started doing Wim Hof stuff because I was working. I had actually dropped a little bit in my map of consciousness because I test myself. I'm a little bit OCD about it. I dropped into acceptance, but it was also a time where I went and buried. I had 7 miscarriages, and one of them I delivered, and I don't think had really dealt with it. And I also had like my dog in an urn and 4 cats that had passed in urns in my house. And when I went to see an energy doctor, who's also an MD, he was saying that when you keep urns in the house, it actually, because the house is your house, that it's like a replica parallel to your body. and it holds space, so it can create cysts and tumors and fibroids in your physical body.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah, especially in the reproductive area. If it's like a miscarriage, you'll create like tumors and fibroids, and it can have POS in the breasts or whatever. And so I was dealing with some stuff, and he's like, yeah, you've had 7 miscarriages. It's time to get rid of those urns and everything." So I didn't know, and so I basically went and got everything out the house, and the babies, for anyone watching, if you have a miscarriage, to do some sort of ceremony, if you know the sex, to do like a pair of shoes or a toy. If it's a boy, like a blue. If it's a pink, girl, and like put it back in the water where it's like the womb. But if it's something that was physically here, you want to put it in the ground. I don't know why, but that's what the way it was showing up for the tests. But anyway, in doing that, I was at 475 on the map, which is almost love. And
Yeah.
I was really pushing. I'm like, please, God, get me to love. I was doing all the things, and breath work was a big part of it. But I dropped into acceptance, and I was like, wait, what happened? And I talked to a few people, and they're like, well, you just buried all these people and like relived like the finalization of accepting these losses all in like a day, really, like going through it. And but I did Wim Hof stuff, and I was listening to like binary beats of the heart and all this stuff, and really built myself back up and trying to, I'm back to 475, but I'm really want to get to love, you guys. I'm like, please, that's my goal. Like, really, actually, I'm going to shoot for 1,000. Like, why not? We can be like Jesus, right? Like,
why not?
Jesus said greater things than these. So I'm holding him to it. I'm like, dude, if you could do it, I could do better. Is that crazy that we could do greater things than Jesus? That's
I don't think so. Yeah.
But, yeah, we can bilocate, we can walk on water, we can transport, we can feed, 4,000 people, we can heal people with our biofield. Like, I'm all in. Like, come on, let's do this, right?
Okay, well, once you get there, just let me know and we'll see if we can walk on water.
Let's just do it together. I think everyone on here should all, like, let's just do 1,000 club. Let's start a 1,000 club, and we're all just gonna like do the things, including breath work and what have you. I've seen people who did breath work and then listened to like whatever megahertz, like 888 or 528, and do that for like 10 to 15 days with using essential oils and maybe like crystals, and doing some meditation, and they can jump like 100 points or 200 points like within a few months. And that's like a big deal. Oh my gosh, just all of a sudden like got a whole bunch of comments. Right on, Sharnael. Everybody wants to be in the 1,000 club. Yay.
Do some breath work, because I probably have some resistance to it now that I think about it, because it makes me think of when I would go to a yoga class and they'd be like, breathe in and out, and I'm like, don't tell me how to breathe. Not, I have like a resistance to it, so maybe I should try.
Wait a minute, did you just say I can't do that, or I have to do that? Like, you're going to do the opposite person, right?
Yeah, exactly. Breathe. And like, no.
I can imagine you as a little kid when someone said, Megan's never going to do that. I bet you were like, oh, no, you didn't.
Yeah, I was like that. Yeah.
I'm still like that. I am literally still like that. I'm like, wait, I'm sorry. Did you just say I can't do that? Okay, I'm going to do it 19 times before Sunday.
Yeah. Well, I was actually thinking about that. That's a personality trait I have, that like when people tell me I can't do something, I'm like, oh no, I'm going to do it, So
different. It's just, I don't know what it is, but yeah. Well, any final questions? Oh, lots of people are in from Berlin to wherever. Lots of people want to get to that love mark. So, any final, okay, I'm seeing lots of ends, definitely lots of ends. So we'll just start our own club.
Yeah.
And you guys can all join, and we'll just do the things, do the breath work, eating good, dreams, journaling is important. Someone's turning off their TV. That's a good deal. I think that do you journal? Does any of you guys journal?
I actually used to, but I don't anymore. I probably should because I'm having more dreams now, so I should probably record them. Yeah.
What I find is if I get up and write my dreams down, I get more dreams. Like, but if I don't invest in what's been given to me already, then I won't dream for a while. But I pretty much dream every night and remember them.
I actually was thinking about this. It's funny we're talking about this now, but I was visited by like a spirit, like a family member in my dream, and I was thinking like why don't they come more often? And it was because we don't remember our dreams, right? So they don't really waste their time, but I'm thinking maybe if I wrote it down, then it would be more like I would have more of a lucid dream. That's interesting.
Yeah, I think that it's just even in quantum physics, they talk about if you whatever you put your attention on, it gets bigger. What you focus on, you make room for. So if you see it as valuable, I think you're going to get more. I get more, and I see when I kind of slack off and forget about it. I don't journal though either, and I think it would be a good idea to get back into it and just like put my thoughts down. And I'm curious about your book. Like, was that out of a journaling thing, or did you just get up and go like, I'm writing a book now, bam, and you wrote it?
I actually, yeah. So, some of like YouTube took down some of my like information, some of my videos, and deleted it, and I got kind of upset. uh, but but then my ET contact helped me write the book. Really, I felt like intuitively from him and from the other side that it was time to like sit down and write it. So it really took me took me like a week and a half to like put it all together. But that was really more of like an intuitive thing because I didn't really. It just kind of came to me and it just kind of started and I wrote it and then I was done. I'm not much of a planner type person. I kind of like go with the ebb and flow of the universe. So like if I feel like I'm gonna do something right then I do it and I just get it over with.
Feeling inspired.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Just divine inspiration.
Yeah, I think that I have 5 too, and all of them, every single one came out of like this download, and it was like one of them I got in 12 hours. It was just like right. It was all done, and I was like, wow.
Yeah.
So I didn't mean for it to start out that way. I was like, I'm going to just do a chapter a day. But once I started, I felt like this whole thing just blew up. I mean, it just came out, like poured out at me. And
for me too. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I feel like I had help too from I don't know if you want to call it an angel or something off planet, for sure, a messenger named True. And this person, I don't know what you call it, this being came to me in 2010 and changed my life. And that was, isn't that fun when we have those like encounters that literally shift your frequency, change your life absolutely forever?
Yeah. DNA communicates. So when you come in contact with someone or a being of a higher frequency, then it activates part of your DNA and part of your soul, and then you can express yourself more. That aspect of you that comes from a different place will be expressed through your DNA in this plane.
Yeah, because we have like a signature code to each cell in our body.
Yeah.
And it comes from, that DNA comes from everything before us and then whatever environmental programming, and it goes out into the field. And your signature is different than mine. But I think what I understand is that they can recognize certain signatures, and then they're also looking at frequency. So if we're low in frequency, they can't even come talk to us because we wouldn't get it or see them or unhear them. But the higher our frequency is, that's a big thing for intuition, is just high vibes is how you can actually hear. And if you're in a low vibe, you're picking up on the entities and that sound.
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
So anyway, well, I need to do this again because I just feel energized. I don't know about everybody else, but I think we could go on all day, and I know that you have things to do. So But do you have any final words? And definitely show your book up one more time. I want to see it. Just tell
Yeah,
everybody where they can get it.
on Amazon, Barnes and Noble. So it's about my abductions, but then also advanced technology that's being produced and kind of the future for planet Earth. So it's exciting. And I'll bring my unicorn to our next show.
Yes, I'll put the picture in the background too. But yeah, I just want to encourage you guys to go check her out. Go to her YouTube. She's got some really cool videos, and she's just like so free and like just shares what's on her heart. She's very direct and honest and just really loving. And hope you guys will check her out, subscribe to her YouTube. And then also to go to swiftfire.org if you can and get on the newsletter, because I'm currently I had my channel taken down and I had to start completely over. And so I'm rebuilding. I'm also on Telegram now, but they just put me in Facebook jail and Instagram jail. I didn't even know there was an Instagram jail, but they like put you, what did they shadow ban you? And I have this like red thing across saying like, no one else can see this, but you're being shadow banned deal. And when people try to follow me, it says, are you sure you want to follow her? Because she's been spreading misinformation. To me, if I saw that, I'd be like, sign me up, bro. What? But it's like trying, and people are sending it to me and saying like, oh no, what are you telling people? Should we don't know if we should follow you or whatever. I'm like, well then don't. But so yeah, but go to swiftfire.org and get on the newsletter, because then you know like what interviews are coming up, what teachings I'm doing. I'm actually teaching live in real life in this week in Florida at a retreat, and then I'm going to be next time I'll be in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, teaching on the science of miracles. It's one of the first few times that I've taught in real life, and everything's been online for so long. But I would love to have you guys come visit and hang out and just get oh, and you can get my book and my cards and like all the stuff too, like the Science of Miracles book and crystal cards. There's all kinds of stuff at the website, resources and stuff. But anyway, lots of love out here. I'm going to share some of you guys' love. Telegram, love, love, love. Lots of great, beautiful people watching and hanging out with us. We love all of y'all so much. Definitely. And you have any final words you want to tell everybody before we go? Everyone's sitting there. Let's do 1,000. Yes.
Yeah, just follow your heart, because your heart always knows the truth. You know, the frequency of love is in alignment with the truth, so to speak, you know? So just follow your heart. Find what that is to you and follow it.
Yes, yes, I agree 100%. And someone else is reminding me to tell you about your Patreon. You have your Patreon, so you can go get connected with her that way too. So please do support her and what she's doing to continue what she's doing. And I just love all of you watching and love you, Megan, Rose, and I'll be in touch. And you guys have a great rest of your Sunday. Go to swiftfire.org. We'll talk to you guys later. Bye.
Bye, everyone.